Welcome to F All That Foundational Skills, a series of podcasts developed to help you build the necessary skills toward emotional wellness, mindfulness, and self care. I'm Michelle Minette, a certified holistic life coach who specializes in helping people heal from narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships. This information is for education purposes only and not in replacement of professional medical or psychological treatment. So, should you experience any discomfort, please contact your medical or psychological care provider. I invited my good friend Chris Gordy on this journey to discuss the benefits of mindfulness because he discovered so many benefits from his past few years of practicing. So, let's discuss the purpose of mindfulness. Let's start with what is mindfulness? What is the purpose of it?
For me, mindfulness is a way to recenter myself with myself. We were talking earlier. Uh, the problems that we all deal with is we're either anxious about something that's in the future, uh, depressed about something in the past. I can't really do anything about the past. And really, I'm just making stuff up about the future because it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So, really, what I need to do is I need to have my brain practice on being right here, right now, right here. And right here, there's nothing wrong. Right here, there's nothing wrong. And so it's for me, it's just a way of retraining my brain to stay with me, to stay right here.
Right. Yeah. So it's about being in the present. Right. And so and you touched on this. Lao Tzu said, if you are depressed, you're living in the past. If you are anxious, you're living in the future. If you are content or at peace, then you're living in the present, right? So that doesn't mean, I don't think content or at peace necessarily means that everything's okay
No.
in the present. It just means that you have a sense of agency or you feel, I don't know, equipped to handle what's happening right in the present.
Yes. Without mucking up everything that you're worried that's going to happen in the future,
Right.
you can now concentrate on the here and now, whatever you're going through. We all have stuff that comes up every single day, um, and and we all get that. But what we do with that is we start thinking about what's going to happen with that in the future, and we don't really know because we just made that up. That's a story that we made up. The rest of the world has absolutely no idea what you just said in your head.
Sure.
And it's not actually going to happen that way. It never does. So being here in the present allows you to those problems that come up and how you're feeling and how you're dealing with life right now. Being in the present allows you to think just solely on the here and now. Concentrate on yourself, concentrate on the now, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah, I like to tell people that it's going to sound a little foo-foo, right? But I like to tell people that mindfulness is about building an intimate relationship with yourself.
Yep.
Because if you're in the present, then you can handle paying attention to more things that are happening in the present. And we take everything in through our five senses, right? And our sensory memory is what, like seconds long. Right? Within seconds, we decide a very small portion of what to take in and pay attention to and retain in our environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And all of those things is about gathering data.
Yes, it is. And you hit it right on the head when you said that you're only taking in so much at a time. You're really not allowing yourself to take in everything.
Right.
So again, it's I hate to say retraining your brain, but just exercising your brain a little bit to really just pay attention, to everything, right? To pay attention to the sounds that are around you, like the cars that I can hear outside right now. Pay attention to just your surroundings. It really does make you a happier person to do that.
Yeah.
The smells that are around you, the things that you're seeing, the lighting in the room, the daylight coming in from the windows, the sound that I can hear outside. Everything is in the here and now. And it's very pleasant being in the here and now. It's very nice.
It is actually once you get used to it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so at times we can use mindfulness for like a brain break.
Yes. Yes, you can. it's a great way to just restart yourself. I've worked in both outdoor settings and in office settings, and I always have had time somewhere in that working environment where I can restart myself. Just sit, just sit and restart myself. Nothing, absolutely nothing is the end of the world. And I know that you think that it is because it is to you.
Right, right.
Because that's what you've created as well. Because the scenario in your head, reset yourself. Just sit and reset yourself. You can do it anywhere. Sit and reset.
So it helps you control what you're bringing to the party.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It really does. It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And you'll start seeing if this is something that you really want to practice and it's something that you really would like to do, you're going to start seeing a difference in what you are bringing to the party, so to speak. Such a different attitude in yourself, and that's kind of where it all leads to. It's a different attitude about yourself, which leads to a different attitude altogether, a different way to see yourself, which is the reality of yourself, which is great.
Okay. So yeah, so build your awareness
Mhm.
also to what you're bringing to the party, because a lot of us still don't know what we're bringing to the party.
Sure.
And I think that brings us back to it helps you build an intimate relationship with yourself, right? Like cognitive behavioral theory says that we as human beings are a combination of our thoughts, our emotions, our urges to act, and the way that our body feels. And so when we practice mindfulness, part of the goal is to be aware, become aware, and build the data for the patterns that occur across those four states. And I want to very clearly state they're temporary states, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm not anger, right? We say it all the time, right? I'm not angry, I'm not anger. I'm having an experience of anger.
Yeah.
Right. And when we start to step back, and this is what mindfulness helps us do, to step back and observe that I'm having an experience with an emotion, and observe that I'm having a thought, and observe that I have an urge to act, right? And it gives us pause and that little bit of separation that actually seeps into our everyday life so that we can then be at the controls instead of reacting to these experiences that we're having that are temporary.
Mhm. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Which is super exciting when you think about it. I mean, I'm going to nerd out a little bit, but I think it's super exciting,
Yeah.
to think that we have control over these
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
that like, just saying, well, I'm the kind of person who gets hangry, and I am the kind of person who gets hangry. But because I know this and because I do mindfulness, I can act in a proactive way. Or if for whatever reason, Chris and I are hanging out and I say something really stupid and sharp, I can stop and be like, oh, I haven't eaten,
Yeah.
and then correct that.
And maybe you need a candy bar.
Yeah. Then
Like
Chris
a
can
commercial,
yeah.
right?
Right. Or Chris might throw a cracker at me or something.
There you
Say,
go.
"Eat."
There you go.
Right. But it's not his job to regulate me. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about being in the present.
Yep.
Right. It
Yes,
helps
it
you
is.
build an intimate relationship with yourself and the world around you.
Yes.
Right. And I think we touched on it, increases self-awareness. Yeah.
It does because you're concentrating on yourself when you're doing it. I always start out with just concentrating on myself for a second, and we always say breathing. And I know we're
Right.
going to get into that later, but a big reason why we do that is because we can't stop breathing. And so if you're going to concentrate on something that you really don't have to put any effort into, well, then that's going to be it because you can't stop it.
Right.
So then I can concentrate on that. And then I start moving outside of that. I just think about the sounds that are around me. If somebody had just cooked something in the house and I could still smell it coming from the kitchen, observe it,
Right.
take it in, listen to everything around you, take in those smells. My eyes are usually closed, so I'm not really seeing anything, but also feeling the chair that I'm sitting in, feeling grounded, my feet on the floor, wherever my hands are, feeling the weight of myself wherever I'm sitting. And that is just an absolute it's an absolute just self-awareness of that moment in time,
Yeah.
right there. That's just a great reset too. You tend to think things a little bit clearer
Right.
after that.
Okay. So rather than, so it's not necessarily, right? Because some people misunderstand this. They say, oh, it's about the self and self-awareness, right? Like, so we wouldn't say that it's a selfish practice,
Yeah.
but it is just paying attention to the self and how we are in that moment and the
Yeah.
things that we're taking in and maybe the things that accompany it from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which reminds me, if we'll take a break for like little pointers and tips here and there, right? Like, so you brought up hearing. Hearing is a big one for me, right? And I think whenever you start mindfulness practice, the easiest thing to do after learning the breath, which we'll talk about in a bit, the easiest thing to do is to take one or any combination of your five senses and pay attention to those in the moment for like a minute or two. Just start with that. You'll be amazed at the things that you've been missing out or haven't been paying attention to that's happening in your environment, right? So when my child was, I don't know, about 3 years old, they started having trouble sleeping, right? Spiders in the room or nightmares, whatever. And so we used to play, for lack of a better name, the hearing and feeling game. I don't know why we weren't more creative.
Yeah.
Right. But we used to play the hearing and feeling game. And so we would lay in the bed, and I didn't have a timer, but it was probably a couple of minutes. And just the two of us would just listen to all the sounds that we could hear going on around us and feel anything that was touching our skin. And so at the end, right, we just discuss with each other all the things that we heard and the things that we felt. And at one point, my kid was like, I felt the fabric of my pajamas on my leg. And I was like, oh, my little Buddha.
And doesn't that also goes to a practice that people do when they're having anxiety, is they'll focus on five things they can hear, five things they can see.
Yes.
So really that also is a way of taking your head away from whatever it is that's giving you the anxiety. That's just another way of being in the here and now.
Right.
Seeing those five things, hearing those five things,
Yeah, when it's a trick that we use when you're cutting your head.
Yeah.
Right. So you pay attention to five things you can see, four things you can hear, three things you can touch, two things you can smell, and one thing that you can taste. And usually by the end of going through all of that, right, there's some kind of release from what had you caught in your head. And feel free to mix around the senses on the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because some are more accessible than others, but I think taste is usually important.
Yeah.
Right? So my child actually would ask to do that. It got to the point where, they would ask to play the hearing and feeling game at night. We do it a couple of times and they go right to sleep afterwards. So it's great for you as an adult, but it's also fun to do some of these things with your children. And it teaches them these skills at a very young age, which is nice.
Yeah. My child used to do the deep breathing practice.
Oh, yeah.
They would, and that's what they would also concentrate on. And that's it. And after a few seconds, boom, they're asleep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was for a kid, it was a way of thinking about the dragon breathing.
Yeah.
That big breath in and then, so it's just that. And after a few moments of that, and all he's doing is just concentrating on just doing that. And he's suddenly in the here and now. And the here and now is in bed.
Yeah.
Here and now is it's dark out and you're tired and you might as well sleep in.
To recap, the purpose of mindfulness is to be present, to get to know you better, and to become more aware, not just of yourself, but of the world around you and how you're interacting with it. Thank you for joining Chris, Gordy, and me as we discuss the basic purpose of mindfulness practice and how it relates to your journey establishing or maintaining emotional wellness. This is just the beginning. So I hope you continue to part 2, where we'll discuss the deeper benefits of mindfulness and how it relates to intuition.